Welcome to Stoic Mindset. This is part 2 on the war on masculinity and what a true elite man should be. Let us begin with the topic, Stoicism as the operating system of the elite man. If there is one philosophy that a man in the modern world should study and internalize, it is Stoicism. Not as an academic exercise, not as a set of interesting historical ideas, but as a living practice, an operating system for navigating reality. The Stoics built their philosophy around one fundamental insight. There are things within your control and things outside your control, and the entirety of your suffering, your anxiety, your anger, your sense of powerlessness, all of it comes from confusing those two categories, from treating things outside your control as if they should be within it. Epictetus opens the Enchiridion, his manual for living, with this: some things are in our control and others not. Things in our control are opinion, pursuit, desire, aversion, and, in a word, whatever are our own actions. Things not in our control are body, reputation, command, and, in one word, whatever are not our own actions. Think about what this means in practical terms for a man living today. You cannot control whether the economy crashes. You can control your financial discipline. You cannot control whether your business fails. You can control the quality of your preparation and your work. You cannot control whether people respect you. You can control whether you are respectable. You cannot control whether you get sick. You can control how you treat your body. You cannot control whether tragedy strikes. You can control how you respond when it does. The man who spends his energy agonizing over things he cannot control, raging at the news, obsessing over what others think of him, lying awake, worrying about scenarios that may never occur, is a man who has outsourced his peace. He is, in the Stoic view, a slave to circumstances, and no amount of wealth or status or external success will free him, because the prison is inside his own mind. The Stoic man, the elite man, is not passive. He is not indifferent. He is not cold. He cares deeply. He acts with full commitment. He fights for what matters to him with everything he has. But his internal state, his peace, his dignity, his sense of identity, does not depend on outcomes. It depends on his own character, his own choices, his own integrity, and those are the only things that truly belong to him. Marcus Aurelius practiced something he called the memento mori, the remembrance of death, not as a morbid obsession, but as a philosophical clarification. He would remind himself daily that he would die, that everyone he loved would die, that the empire he governed would eventually fall. And in the face of that reality, he asked, what actually matters? What deserves my attention, my energy, my care? And the answer consistently was virtue, character, the quality of how he acted in the time he had. Not the applause, not the reputation, not the legacy even. The quality of the man himself in the present moment. For the modern man, this practice is genuinely transformative, not as a theoretical exercise, but done daily, in the morning, with seriousness. Ask yourself, if this were my last day, would I be proud of how I am spending it? Not in a crisis of meaning paralysis, but as a daily recalibration, a daily return to what actually matters. The Stoics also taught the concept of amor fati, love of fate, the willingness not merely to tolerate what happens to you, but to embrace it, to see difficulty not as an obstacle to your development, but as the material of it, the fire that forges steel. Friedrich Nietzsche, who, though not a Stoic, absorbed much of their spirit, put it this way: That which does not kill me makes me stronger. Not as a cliché, as a lived practice of finding the gift inside the adversity. Every setback teaches something. Every failure reveals a weakness that once seen can be strengthened. The man who practices amor fati is genuinely undefeatable because he has removed the category of defeat. Everything becomes material. Everything becomes fuel. Now let's talk about the struggles of a real man. What nobody talks about. Let's get honest about something. Being a man is hard, and the modern world does not give men permission to say that. It does not give men spaces to explore that. The culture simultaneously tells men to be stronger and dismisses the genuine weight of what men carry. It tells men to be more emotionally open and then judges them when they are. It tells men to provide and protect and lead and then calls those instincts toxic. The double bind is relentless and it is real, and it breaks many men. A man carries things quietly. He carries the weight of responsibility for his family, for his finances, for his future, for the people who depend on him. He carries this largely without acknowledgement because the expectation is simply that he will carry it. He does not get a parade for showing up. He does not get a trophy for not breaking. He carries the loneliness. The research on male loneliness is genuinely alarming. Men have far fewer close friendships than women. They are far less likely to have someone they can be genuinely vulnerable with. The male social world, particularly after the age of 30, becomes increasingly isolated. And isolated men, as study after study confirms, become depressed, unhealthy, and die younger. But the culture offers almost no serious framework for how men should build genuine brotherhood, genuine connection, genuine community. He carries the fear, not the fear he can talk about easily, the fear of physical danger or public humiliation, but the deeper fear, the fear of being fundamentally inadequate, of being exposed as a fraud, of failing the people who depend on him, of reaching the end of his life and realizing he did not become what he was supposed to become. This fear lives in most men, in some form, and it drives much of their behavior. Their workaholism, their avoidance, their risk-taking, their shutting down. He carries the grief he was never taught to process. Men lose people. Men fail. Men make mistakes that cannot be undone. And the culture gives men essentially no tools for genuine grief work. The dominant male script is push through, stay strong, don't show weakness. And while that script has genuine virtues, there are times when endurance is what is required. When it is applied to grief and loss without any nuance, it produces men who are carrying unprocessed pain for decades, who are numb, who are reactive in ways they cannot explain, whose relationships suffer because they have never dealt with what lies underneath. None of this makes a man weak. Acknowledging that being a man is hard does not make you less of a man. In fact, the capacity for honest self-assessment, the ability to look at your own struggles without either collapsing into victimhood or denying them in false stoicism, is itself a marker of real strength. The Stoics did not teach men to be emotionless. They taught men to have the right relationship with their emotions, to not be ruled by them, but to not be cut off from them either. Marcus Aurelius grieved. He acknowledged fear. He wrote openly about anxiety, about the weight of his responsibilities, about his own failures and shortcomings. What made him a great man was not that he did not feel these things. It was that he felt them, examined them, learned from them. and continued forward with integrity. The elite man is not a man without struggle. He is a man who meets his struggle honestly, learns from it, and refuses to be defined by it. Another important topic we need to address is the changing definition of manhood and why you must hold the line. Something remarkable has happened in the last 30 years. The definition of what it means to be a man has been rewritten, not once, but continuously, in an ongoing revision that seems to have no stable endpoint. And the remarkable thing is not that the definition has changed. Definitions evolve. That is natural. The remarkable thing is the direction of the change and the speed of it. Every revision seems to move in the same direction, removing from the definition of manhood anything that requires effort, sacrifice, or responsibility. Adding to it anything that requires nothing except self-acceptance. We have moved from a culture that asked, what can a man build? What can he endure? What can he provide? What will he stand for? To a culture that asks, does he feel good about himself? Is he comfortable? Is his identity validated? And while self-acceptance and emotional health are genuinely important, any honest reading of psychology confirms this. The wholesale replacement of the achievement and virtue framework with the comfort and validation framework has produced a catastrophic outcome. It has produced men who feel great about themselves and are objectively nothing, who have abundant self-esteem and zero self-respect because self-esteem is given and self-respect is earned. The psychologist Roy Baumeister spent decades studying self-esteem and concluded something that the self-esteem movement did not want to hear. Artificially elevated self-esteem, esteem untethered from real achievement, real competence, real virtue, does not produce better people. It produces narcissists. It produces people who are fragile in the face of criticism because they have no genuine foundation of real capability to fall back on. It produces people who are dependent on constant external validation because they have never generated internal certainty through genuine accomplishment. The elite man does not pursue high self-esteem. He pursues real capability. He pursues genuine virtue. He pursues the kind of self-respect that comes from looking in the mirror and knowing, not because someone told him so, not because an app gave him a like, not because the culture approved, but because of what he has actually done and become. That he is a man who can be trusted, a man who shows up, a man who does what he says he will do, a man who has endured difficulty and not broken. That kind of self-respect cannot be given. It cannot be manufactured. It can only be earned. One choice at a time, in the private moments when no one is watching. So when the world tries to rewrite what a man is, when it tells you that masculinity is a performance, that strength is a social construct, that responsibility is oppressive, that discipline is dangerous, you hold the line, not with anger, not with contempt, but with the quiet, immovable certainty of a man who knows what he is and what he is building, a man who does not need the world's permission to be himself. Epictetus, who was born into literal slavery and could not change a single external fact of his circumstances, wrote, "No man is free who is not master of himself." He was the freest man in the room, because freedom, real freedom, not the cheap variety sold by consumer culture, is an inside job, and no cultural narrative, no matter how pervasive, no matter how loudly amplified, can take it from the man who has genuinely built it within himself. Now we need to talk about the fact that the world needs elite men now. more than ever, we are living in a period of extraordinary crisis, not just politically, not just economically, not just environmentally, but at the level of human character, at the level of the qualities, the virtues, that have historically held civilization together and pushed it forward. Look at what the world is desperately short of right now. It is short of men who tell the truth when it is costly to tell the truth. Men who stand for something when standing costs them something. Men who lead not because they have been given authority, but because they have the character to be worth following. Men who build not only businesses or buildings, but families, communities, institutions, movements, ideas. Men who show up consistently, who can be depended upon, who do not disappear when things get difficult. Every civilization that has fallen for the same fundamental reason. Not because of external enemies, because of internal decay, because the men who were supposed to carry the weight stopped carrying it, because the virtues that were supposed to sustain the culture stopped being transmitted, stopped being practiced, stopped being demanded. We are at an inflection point, and in moments like this, throughout history, it has always been the same thing that turned the tide. Not a government program, not a cultural campaign, not a hashtag. Men, real men. Men who decided, individually, privately, without fanfare, to become more than what the world expected of them, to take the ancient blueprint and apply it with full seriousness to their actual lives, to be the kind of fathers, brothers, leaders, builders, and thinkers that their moment in history demanded. You are living in one of those moments, and the question is not whether the world needs you to become more. The question is whether you will answer the call. Let's talk about the practical path, how to become an elite man. Everything we have discussed up to this point is the framework, the philosophy, the psychology, the history, the diagnosis of what is happening to men in the modern world. Now we get practical. Because a philosophy that cannot be lived is not a philosophy. It is entertainment. Here is the actual path, not the easy version. Not the version that can be started by buying a supplement or downloading an app. The real version, the one the Stoics would recognize, the one that actually works. 1. Claim your mornings. The battle for your day is won or lost in the first hour. The world wants your mornings. Every app, every platform, every notification is designed to seize your attention the moment consciousness returns. The man who hands his mornings to the machine hands something that cannot be recovered. The most cognitively potent, emotionally uncontaminated hours of his day. Reclaim them. Wake before the world demands you. Not to be performatively productive, but to have 60 minutes, at minimum, that belong entirely to you. Use them for silence, for thought, for physical training, for reading, for journaling, for the kind of slow, undistracted reflection that forges clarity and intention. Marcus Aurelius began every morning with a practice of preparation, reviewing what the day would demand, rehearsing how he would respond with virtue to the inevitable difficulties he would face. He did not drift into his day. He entered it with intention. Do the same. No phone for the first hour. This is not negotiable. The man who cannot manage 1 hour without his phone does not yet own himself. 2. Train your body like it is your responsibility. Because it is. Physical training is not about aesthetics. It is not about vanity. It is about building the foundational experience of choosing difficulty and succeeding. Train hard. Train consistently. Lift heavy things. Do something that makes you uncomfortable. Run when you do not want to run. Train when you do not feel like training. Because the man you are building, the disciplined, resilient, capable man, is built in the moments when you wanted to stop and didn't. The ancient Romans had a saying, mens sana in corpore sano, a healthy mind in a healthy body. The Stoics trained their bodies not to look good, but because they understood that physical discipline and mental discipline are not separate practices. They reinforce each other. The man who keeps his commitment to himself in the gym is building the neural architecture of a man who keeps his commitments everywhere. Train at least 5 days a week. Sleep 8 hours. Take your nutrition seriously, not as an obsession, but as an act of respect for the instrument through which you live your life and pursue your purpose. 3. Govern your digital life, or it will govern you. You cannot become an elite man while living a life of digital addiction. This does not mean abandoning technology. It means having a deliberate, structured relationship with it rather than a reactive, compulsive one. Set hard limits on social media. Use it as a tool for specific purposes, for specific durations, not as a source of emotional comfort or a way to fill silence. Delete apps that you use compulsively, but that do not serve your purpose. Turn off notifications except for genuine communications. And pornography. Address this honestly. If it is a habit, recognize it as an addiction with documented neurological effects and treat it as such. The man who cannot control his sexual impulses does not have his impulses in his control, and a man who does not have himself in his control is not yet himself. The philosopher Seneca wrote, "Retire into yourself as much as possible. Associate with those who will make a better man of you." In the modern context, this means creating genuine solitude, genuine silence, space for your own thoughts to develop without constant external noise. This is the soil in which deep thinking, genuine creativity, and real self-knowledge grow. 4. Build your mind with intention. Read. Read every day. Read widely. Read the great thinkers, the Stoics, the ancient philosophers, the great psychologists, the historians, the scientists. Read men who lived big lives and thought deeply about what they had learned. Read men who disagreed with each other and let the tension between their ideas challenge your own thinking. A minimum of 30 minutes of serious reading a day transforms a man's mind over years in ways that are difficult to overstate. Not reading social media, not reading hot takes, books, long-form arguments, ideas that require sustained engagement and reward it. Keep a journal, not a diary of feelings, though there is value in that, but a journal of thought. Write about what you are reading and what it means to you. Write about your decisions and the reasoning behind them. Write about your failures and what they taught you. The act of writing forces clarity. The man who journals consistently develops a quality of self-knowledge that the man who never reflects cannot access. Learn skills that challenge you, a language, an instrument, a technical domain. The process of learning something genuinely difficult, not as a performance for others, but as a private practice of growth, builds mental resilience and genuine capability simultaneously. 5. Face your fears deliberately. The psychologist Carl Jung wrote, "One does not become enlightened by imagining figures of light, but by making the darkness conscious." Every man has fears he is organized around avoiding, and those fears, unaddressed, quietly govern his life. They determine which opportunities he does not pursue, which conversations he does not have, which risks he does not take, which versions of himself he never becomes. The elite man does not eliminate fear. He walks toward it, deliberately, methodically, not recklessly. This is not about adrenaline or bravado, but systematically expanding the territory of what you are willing to face. Having the difficult conversation, starting the thing you have been putting off because it might fail. Putting yourself in situations where genuine discomfort is guaranteed and surviving them. Every time you do something you were afraid to do, you change the equation inside your own mind. You add to the evidence that you are capable. You shrink the fear slightly. And over time, across hundreds of these small acts of courage, you build a man who is genuinely, demonstrably unafraid of life, in the way that most men are afraid of it. 6. Build something real. A man needs a mission, not a passion. The word passion has been diluted into something meaningless. A mission, something he is building, creating, contributing to that is larger than his immediate gratification. This might be a business. It might be an art form. It might be a family he is committed to raising with excellence. It might be a community he is building. It might be a body of knowledge he is developing. It might be a cause he is devoting himself to. The specifics matter less than the existence of something real, something that requires your genuine effort, your genuine thought, your genuine sacrifice, something that will be better because you gave yourself to it. Viktor Frankl wrote that the man who has a why can bear almost any how. The man without a mission drifts, he consumes, he reacts. He is perpetually subject to the agenda of others because he has no agenda of his own. Find your mission, not by waiting for inspiration to strike, by choosing, by trying, by building in the direction of what genuinely matters to you and refining as you learn. The mission reveals itself through action, not through contemplation alone. 7. Choose your associations with brutal honesty. Jim Rohn famously said that you are the average of the 5 people you spend the most time with. This is not metaphorical. The research on social contagion, how behaviors, attitudes, ambitions, and even health outcomes spread through social networks, consistently confirms that who you are around is one of the most powerful determinants of who you become. Look at the 5 people closest to you right now. Do they challenge you or enable your weaknesses? Do they hold you to a standard or tell you that everything is fine? Do they themselves pursue growth and excellence, or do they comfort themselves with mediocrity? This is not about coldly discarding people, but it is about being honest with yourself about the effect your environment has on you, and about deliberately seeking, sometimes with significant effort, the company of people who raise your standard. Mentors. Men who are further along the path than you. Men who will tell you hard truths about yourself with genuine care. And if those people are not in your physical life right now, they exist in books. The great thinkers of history are available to you in a way they were not available to most people throughout most of human history. Read them as mentors. Let them challenge you, shape you, demand more from you. 8. Practice genuine accountability. The elite man holds himself to a standard that does not shift based on circumstances. When you fail, and you will fail, you do not make excuses. You do not blame the economy, your childhood, the system, other people. You look honestly at your own choices, your own preparation, your own execution. and you identify what you are responsible for. And then you learn, and you adjust, and you try again. This is not self-flagellation. The elite man does not waste energy on guilt and shame. He wastes nothing on guilt and shame, because those are backward-looking emotions that serve no constructive purpose once the lesson has been learned. He acknowledges the failure, extracts the lesson, and moves forward. But the accountability is genuine. It is unflinching. It does not seek the exit of blame or the comfort of victimhood. It looks directly at the reflection and says, "I could have done better. What will I do differently?" This habit, sustained over years, is the single greatest accelerant of growth available to any man. Because the man who is genuinely accountable learns faster than anyone else. He gets more genuine information about reality because he is not filtering that information through the distortions of ego protection. 9. Cultivate genuine brotherhood. Men need other men, not in a surface, sports-watching, socially acceptable, male-bonding way. Men need genuine brotherhood, the kind that involves real honesty, real challenge, real vulnerability within a framework of mutual respect and shared standards. This is rare. It requires intentional effort to build. It requires finding men who are themselves committed to growth and deliberately cultivating relationships with them that go deeper than the average male friendship. Find or build a small group of men, even 2 or 3, with whom you can be genuinely honest, with whom you share your actual struggles, your actual ambitions, your actual failures. Men who will not simply validate you, but will tell you what they genuinely see. Men who will hold you to your stated values when you are slipping from them. This is what the ancients called a circle of virtue. It is not a therapy group. It is a council of men who are committed to each other's excellence. 10. Live with intention toward death. Return, again, to the Stoic practice of memento mori. Every morning, or at minimum every week, spend time in genuine reflection on the fact that you are going to die, that this time you have is finite, that the man you are becoming or failing to become is the result of choices you make in days exactly like today. This is not morbid, it is clarifying. It is the single most effective antidote to the distraction, the procrastination, the comfort-seeking, the deferral of your real life to some imagined future when conditions will be more ideal. The conditions will never be more ideal. You have today. Now, the question is what you will do with it. Now let us talk about the man you could become. A vision. Let me paint a picture. It is early morning before the sun rises. The city is still asleep, still drowning in the convenience and distraction and noise that defines it. But one man is awake. He has been awake for an hour already. He has prayed or meditated or sat in silence, depending on his path. He has written in his journal, not about his feelings, but about his purpose, his goals, the challenges he is navigating, the lessons he is learning. He has read something that challenges him. He has already moved his body, already generated the neurochemical foundation for a day of clear thinking and decisive action. He knows what he is building. He has a mission, chosen with seriousness and pursued with full commitment. He does not drift through his work. He enters it with intention. He makes decisions from his values, not from his impulses or his fears. When things go wrong, and things always go wrong, he does not collapse or blame or spiral. He assesses, he learns, he adjusts, he continues. He He has relationships built on genuine honesty and mutual respect. He has people in his life who challenge him. He has people who depend on him and whom he does not disappoint. He is the man that the people in his life can count on, not because he has never failed them, but because when he has failed, he owned it and returned with more. He is not perfect. He has fears he is still learning to face. He has wounds he is still learning to heal. He has weaknesses he is actively working on. But he is honest about all of these things. He is not performing a version of himself. He is actually building a self. He has power, not power over others, power over himself. The deep, genuine, hard-won power of the man who has chosen difficulty over comfort, growth over comfort, character over appearance, 1,000 times, in 1,000 private moments, when no one was watching. He is not famous. He may never be famous. He does not need to be. He is something far more rare than famous. He is real. He is a man who stood in the middle of a world designed to make him weak and chose daily to become strong. Who stood in the middle of a culture designed to make him small and chose daily to grow. Who stood in the middle of a system designed to keep him distracted and chose daily to pay attention to what actually matters. He is the kind of man whose son will watch him and learn what a man is supposed to be without ever being told. Whose daughter will watch him and know in her bones what she should expect from a man in her own life. Whose community will be shaped, slightly but genuinely, by the fact that he existed and was what he was. He is the kind of man the world desperately needs right now. He is the kind of man you are capable of becoming. The final word. Your moment. Let me end where we began. Look around you. Look at the world the way it actually is. The confusion, the distraction, the dissolution of standards, the creeping softness, the manufactured helplessness, the epidemic of men who have quietly accepted a smaller and smaller version of themselves. Now look inward. Not at who you currently are, but at who you could become if you took every principle in this script and applied it, not perfectly, not all at once, but consistently, daily, with full seriousness. For the next 5 years, what would that man look like? What would he be building? What would he know about himself that you do not yet know? What would he have survived? And what would that survival have made him? That man is not a fantasy. He is not a myth. He is a projection, forward in time, of the choices you have the power to make starting today. The world will not help you become him. In many ways, the world will actively resist it. The algorithms will tempt you. The culture will pressure you. The people around you who are comfortable in their own smallness will feel quietly threatened by your commitment to grow beyond it. There will be days when it seems easier, much easier, to put down the weight and just be ordinary. On those days, remember this: the great men of history, the men who built things that lasted, who thought thoughts that changed the world, who lived in ways that inspired generations. They lived in moments far more difficult than yours. Aurelius governed a crumbling empire. Epictetus was a slave. Frankl survived a death camp, and they chose, in those impossible circumstances, to become more fully themselves rather than less. You are alive in the most information-rich, opportunity-dense, potential-full moment in human history. You have access to the wisdom of every great thinker who ever lived. You have access to tools for health, for learning, for building, for connecting that no generation before you has ever had. The only thing standing between you and the man you are capable of becoming is the decision to become him. Not tomorrow, not when conditions are better, not when you feel more ready. Now, as you are, in the life you actually have, with the time you actually possess. The world has enough ordinary men. It has enough men who are distracted, dependent, and defeated by design. It has enough men who have accepted the small version of themselves that the system offers and called it good enough. What the world is desperately, urgently short of is men who refuse. Men who look at everything trying to diminish them and say, "Not me, not today, not ever." Men who take the ancient blueprint, the blueprint written in philosophy and psychology, in the lives of great men, in the deepest instincts of their own nature, and apply it with full commitment to their actual lives. Be one of those men, because the world needs you to be. And more importantly, you need you to be. Waste no more time arguing about what a good man should be. Be one. Marcus Aurelius.